Now, the next story is actually about the electric vehicle sales in India, which have touched a new milestone. In fact, they crossed the 1 million units mark in FY23, with two-wheelers leading the way, cornering the biggest share at 62%. Electric three-wheelers taking the second biggest slice of the EV pie at 34%, and electric four-wheelers or the passenger vehicles took the remaining only meager 4%. But there are lingering concerns floating in the EV ecosystem with the suspension of FAME 2 guidelines, vexing companies. The companies feel that withholding of 1,200 crore rupees of subsidy has had a debilitating impact on the demand and the momentum in the EV adoption, and that may get it to actually lose steam going forward. We have with us Manish Raj Singhania, President FADA, to help us understand how the EV ecosystem is progressing and what are the ways in which EV adoption will get a big leg up. Joining us in the studio is also my colleague Rakesh Khar. He's the Group Business and Economy Editor at TV9 Network. Now, of course, I will just run through the data once again. The real fillip which the EV sector is getting right now is on account of two-wheelers, which are bagging a huge 62% share of EV sales, followed by EV three-wheelers at 34%, and the electric four-wheelers or the passenger vehicles commanding a meager 4%. And of course, the FAME 2 guidelines have been suspended as well. Now, these FAME 2 guidelines were initially responsible for bringing down the prices of electric vehicles by a solid 35%. Let's move straight to Rakesh Khar. Rakesh, this is a subject that you've been tracking and we've been discussing multiple times over in the past as well. And finally, the data is saying that we are selling more than 1 million electric vehicles in the country. Now, beyond the the whole aspiration of a large number like 1 million, it's still a small dent when we look at, let's say, the 2030 vision that Niti Aayog has set out, which says that we are looking at 80% two-wheelers, 30% four-wheelers to be fully electric by 2030. So, in the context of that, is 1 million really a reason to celebrate?
I would say it's a good number to look at. It's a decent, modest start. Obviously, the target is very difficult to attain if we don't stay the course. And the global context is that both US and China have a huge head start over us. In that sense, we've been a little late to this electric vehicles or the larger ambit of energy efficient vehicles mobility in this country. But having started late, I think we are staying the course, and 1 million definitely would cheer the industry and the policymakers. But it's important to put it in context, Kartik. One, the global perspective I shared briefly with you. And if the biggest car maker, I mean, two-wheelers, obviously it's looking a good looking now. It's a good number to start with. But in the passenger car segment, we discussed yesterday about Tata Motors being a driver in the EV segment. But Maruti is still not, it's the largest car maker in the country. It's not bullish on EV. I mean, it may not say so, it's making the right noises. It talks about its first EV product coming in. But the big point in terms of the messaging from Maruti leadership, I have had an opportunity to interact with Mr. R.C. Bhargav. He is someone who is not very bullish. And I think there are some bright reasons to look at his sense of argument. First and foremost, he's saying that when we look at transition from here to, energy efficient mobility, we must not just look at only EVs. He's saying this is one particular, way of approaching energy efficient mobility. The other 2 or 3 formats that Maruti itself is going to pursue in a big way is hybrids and then blended cars, which I think, according to Mr. R.C. Bhargav, who is an industry veteran, is not meriting the same kind of attention as the EVs from both the central government and the state government. And accordingly, the industry is in a bit of a confusion when it comes to really being able to decide how do we meet the larger target of moving completely away from fossil fuel driven cars to energy efficient cars. Yes, EV is a good start, but hybrids and other formats need to be equally looked at from all the stakeholders in the ecosystem.
Okay, so EV scooters, Rakesh, have really tripled their sales numbers in the last 1 year. And these, of course, EV scooters, this is the segment that we saw the likes of Ola run into trouble with, and scooters catching fires, showrooms catching fire. And the general sentiment then was that maybe EV is not yet a safe, tried and tested option for the general public to sort of, ride on. Do you think with these sales numbers now coming out, does it seem that that fear of EV and the fear of EV vehicles catching fire is behind us?
I think no number should, should help anyone say that, we are comfortable on the safety parameters. I think safety is a big issue even in passenger cars, and it will continue to be an issue in EV, in the scooter segment, because I think these are new technologies. They're not yet completely in the complete trust zone when it comes to the customer confidence. I would imagine that in the race to produce large numbers, manufacturers should not lose sight of even one, automobile, whether it's a two-wheeler or a car, not being exactly 100% safe. I mean, there is a wide debate going on in India in terms of who pays for the cost of safety in these in mobility. Yeah. But the consumer wouldn't mind, I think, paying a little more if he's assured of that safety. And you mentioned about FAME and other issues. Those are issues where subsidy needs to be, so to say, used and utilized by the industry in the right perspective. Safety should be the first and foremost parameter when people are switching and buying EV products, whether it's two-wheelers or it's three-wheelers or it's four-wheelers.
Okay, so let's take this conversation to Manish, who's joining us. Of course, Manish Raj Singhania is the president of FADA. Manish, we've seen data come in, and 1 million is the number that, that all headlines are screaming out loud. I want to understand from you, where do you see the real adoption of EV two-wheelers really coming in from? Are these the standard metros that are usually the innovators, the first movers to adopt new technologies, or do you see this becoming a pan-India phenomena?
I think the adoption of true EV has really happened in three-wheelers first, and the market has totally transformed from ICE vehicles to electric vehicles, and they are doing pretty good, and the penetration is close to 50% now. And regarding the two-wheeler space, I think it is at the inflection point now. We are seeing both penetration happening in urban market more obviously, and rural market also there is an attraction. There is now a customer mindset about electric vehicles. There is a liking of two-wheeler customer moving towards electrical two-wheelers. Just that there were not enough players in the market, and I should say our legacy players who are there in the market, in Indian market for so long, who have developed their brand confidence, they were lacking with their product range in the market. Now we see Heroes and HMSI and TVS already taking the lead, and Bajajes and such kind of manufacturers who already have a big mind space and customer confidence. They need to come up with their EV range, right from entry level to high end. And that would be a big kind of inflection point to this EV segment, two-wheeler space. They have got the penetration, they've got the dealership setups, they've got service centers available, they've got the brand confidence of the customer. So, and these brands will not compromise. These brands will come up with only quality products. They will ensure that the best of best is available to the customer. So, too much at stake to take any kind of risk. And we need to deliver a safe quality product to the customers. And I think all these legacy players coming into the fray this year with their own range of products that can really bring about a sea change in electric two-wheeler space.
Okay, so stay with us, Manish, and help us also understand, the penetration of four-wheelers, which of course has got only seasoned players, though the number is few, and Maruti has still not entered that segment. But the four-wheeler EV penetration has come from the big brands, but we've seen only about 4% adoption out of the total number of EVs sold in the last 1 year. Why is it that the first movers are not really adopting at scale the EV four-wheeler revolution yet?
So I would slightly correct you. I think the penetration in PV space is hardly 1.3 or 4%.
No, I'm saying 4% of the 1 million units which have been sold. Of the 1 million units sold in the last 1 year, I think the number that has come out is 4%.
Right. I was talking about the total ICE penetration.
Of course, that is much smaller.
EV penetration in the four-wheeler space.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely here also, I mean, the story really goes about the lack of model presence of lack of models in this space, and whatever models are there, they are very pretty costly. And this segment is very
What time is Rahul
sensitive.
Gandhi?
This segment is, range driven. We are not talking about intercity. We are talking about intra-city now. And this customer needs that confidence, and that if he or she travels out of the city with this vehicle, he or should the vehicle would be attended with a proper charging station, which the customer right now is very apprehensive about. That range anxiety is really coming built in with in the customer mindset, and we hardly have 2-3 players in EV space, and we do have some players, but they are at a very costly range. They are not at affordable pricing, and what this segment really needs is, if you compare to a similar car in a ICE engine, it is almost costing, EV is costing almost double. And we need more players coming in for PV space in electric. And I think with more models and more affordable models, though the lithium prices have been coming down, but it is still not very substantially comfortable and affordable to Indian customers. Please understand, automobile mobility is about, it's still a necessity in India, and we cannot treat it as a luxury. We don't have very robust public transport systems, and it's a necessity in India, and we need to have affordable vehicles for these Indian consumers. So I think OEMs need to invest very heavily in this space, and bring out newer models and newer attraction to the customer with good range and good charging infrastructure also. Battery swapping can be an ideal solution in this space. So, but I think for a good PV penetration in EV space would require another 3 to 4 years time.